Corey?
Yes.
Harold Floyd. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. No problem. And you'll be first. I'll call you.
Okay.
You can.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So guys.
Thank you all for coming. If I could have Pastor Corey Conradi lead us in our invocation, please.
Thank you all for having me here as a part of the Ministerial Alliance. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here to shepherd our school and our teachers and our young leaders of tomorrow. Guide us in the wisdom to make good decisions, to work together, and to do what's best for the children in our care. Help us have peace and a servant's attitude towards others as we look forward to the future of this school district and our community. Amen. Thank you.
Thanks
for coming, Corey. Appreciate it.
With that, I'll call the meeting to order. Let the record show that all members are present, excluding Frank and Joe. And if I could have everyone stand for the flag salute, please.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, recognitions.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start off by having Coach Bloom and the girls track team come up here. This past spring, they were recently named the 6A Academic All-State Champions. We are always proud about that.
Yeah.
And Coach Bloom, I'll let you tell a little bit about their individual accomplishments, but ladies, thank you for coming out here this evening. Coach Bloom, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I'm real proud of this group of ladies. Several of them were academic state champs back a few months ago, back in fall, during cross country. And then they repeat again in track. There's several of them not here tonight. Some are gone to church camps. One's gone to basic. There should have been about 15 of them. And we got what we could. Their grade point average as a team was a 4.0, which is, can't get much better than that.
That's right.
So we have some great girls here. We're going to have them come on up this way. Coach Shipley, come on up.
Yeah.
I love doing this, Shipley.
Coach, if you could talk into
might be giving her a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah, no kidding. That's right.
Evidently we're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Your glasses on.
It's
now, if you read these in order, these will be in order, but since we're missing several rules, I'll take the ones that aren't here.
All right, go to the mic, if you will, Coach. Thank you.
Okay. Sarah Bonebreak. Carissa Carr is not here.
Let's, ladies, as she calls your name, if you'll step up there, and then we'll get a group picture here in just a minute, and anybody else that wants to come up when we get done, and then we'll just hold our applause and congratulate all of them at the end together.
Brianna Clayton. Gabby Harrow is not here. Sarah Huang is not here. Yun Lee is at basic training. Kaylee Maxey isn't here. Abigail isn't here. Lauren Powell isn't here. Maya's not here. Nicole is not here. Avery Sampson.
Hey.
Lauren Simpson. Okay, I don't know which twin is here. Ashley Williams and Mariah Williams. Which one are you? Mariah, sorry. Well, they're twins. All right.
Yeah, Coach, come on up. Yep. All right, anybody else that'd like to get pictures, come on down. We'll let Jane get hers first, and then we'll let any of the parents get theirs. Yep, get in there, Coach. let the parents slide in there and get some pictures. Ladies, that is quite the accomplishment. Congratulations. Let's give it another hand.
And then I would like to add one last thing. Maya Rodriguez, who just recently moved, and Lauren Powell, who can't be here, they both actually ran in state this year in the 100-meter hurdles, both of them. They had a great season. They were being recognized tonight also, but neither one of them could make it. So.
Yeah, good deal. Thank you, Coach. We appreciate it.
Next up is Coach Sears. I believe JJ's with him, but he had 4 kids this past year qualify for state and EHS boys track. So, Coach, I'll turn it over to you.
Hello. I would have 4 boys up here, but they're really busy this summer. One of them's running in Georgia, so he had to take a COVID test, so he's quarantined. Another one, Maxwell Smith, he is at ROTC camp, and Donovan Ryman, he's working. So. But I do have this lovely young man right here, JJ Wheeler. He's actually the first hurdler since I've been coaching track since I've been back in Enid, and probably in the last 15 years, he's our first hurdler to make it to state, and I'm pretty proud of it.
All right, come on down. All right, get a couple of pictures here. Congratulations. Thank you, Coach. We appreciate it.
Item 2, no audience to visitors, so brings us to item 3, the superintendent's report. Dr. Floyd.
All right. First up, unfortunately, we're losing Colin Abernathy as a board member, and we wanted to pause here to say thank you, Colin, for all of your years of service, and we have a certificate to present to you tonight that says Enid Board of Education hereby recognizes Colin Abernathy. Thank you for serving the students and staff of Enid Public Schools through the years of 2013 to 2021 on the school board. We appreciate your dedication to Enid Public Schools. We appreciate your service, Colin, and we wish you and your family the very best. All right, next up, each year we choose a theme or motto for the upcoming school year. So for 21-22, given that we are kind of trying to come out of the COVID mess and moving forward, we chose moving forward towards success. So Randy will be ordering the medallions, the medals coins, thank you very much, couldn't come up with the word there, coins with that on the back of it, and we will be handing those out for people that go above and beyond and do great things next school year with the motto, moving forward towards success. Wanted to mention to board members that the State Department has rolled out a School Counselor Corps competitive grant process that will be to competitive process that school districts can apply for additional school counselors and get 50% of their salaries funded by the state through ESSER funds. Now, this is ESSER funds that the state has hung on to rather than doling it out. So we will be applying for 2 of those. Again, it's competitive grants, so we don't know until we apply whether or not we'll get it or not. But we're applying for an additional counselor at the high school and additional counselor at Longfellow. And if we get both of those half funded through these competitive grant processes, well, then that will allow Rochelle to move from splitting time to back to full-time at Lincoln, right? Did I get all that correct?
How long are those grants?
Up to 3 years, yes. And then, so we'll see how that goes. Do you know the timing on that? I know June the 11th, or was the deadline for applications?
You're right, it was June 11th was the application, but we have not heard yet. And
Okay.
Melissa Graddick checked this morning, and we still haven't heard, so I would assume we'd hear something within a week.
Pretty soon?
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. So I hope we get that, and that'll be beneficial for all those campuses. I want to mention to you that we've got two Hall of Fames at Enid High School. One is the one that we inducted Bill Mayberry into at graduation. That is the Enid High School Athletic Hall of Fame, and you have to either have coached a state champion in order to qualify for that, or go in a different, there's a special category, and that's the one that we inducted, the category that we inducted Bill into. Then the foundation, the EPS Foundation, has a second Hall of Fame that they sponsor at Enid High School. That is for employees that have gone above and beyond over long periods of times or done exceptional accomplishments, that type of thing. So we will be inducting Ron Garrison into that Enid High School Hall of Fame. We will do that induction ceremony at the September 3rd first varsity football game, first home varsity football game versus Ponca City. And Ron Garrison, in addition to serving 50 or 51 years, something like that, with the district, is the only Enid High School graduate to come back and serve as Enid High School principal also. So we are honored to induct Ron into that Hall of Fame. I want to mention a few details about the dismissal of the lawsuit that many school districts were entered into. We got notification on June 2nd that the lawyer from RFR that was representing us in that received notification and a letter by the State Board of Education and Joy Hoffmeister indicating that all of the conditions had been satisfied, and also accompanied by a resolution adopted by the State Board of Education that all of the 3 steps and conditions had been met in order for us to dismiss that lawsuit and not move any further with that. So the first step was the signing by Governor Stitt of Senate Bill 229 that passed the legislature, so he signed that. Second was the dismissal by the Oklahoma Public Charter School Association of the Oklahoma case, and then the third one, a release by the Association of State School Boards and the State Department of Education. So all 3 of those conditions have been met. So that lawsuit has officially been dismissed. Now, I do want to pass on to you a few words of encouragement and kudos from several folks across the state that wanted us to be sure and thank not only this school board, but all the other school boards of education across the state that participated in that action, because it is their understanding and perception that without that courageous action by a number of different school districts, that would not have been pushed forward legislatively or by the governor. So we appreciate this board's courage to step forward on that, and we're glad to see that that has been dismissed now. Next up, you have an attachment in your board packet of upcoming next year's senior activities for May of 2022, and mainly what I wanted to mention there is graduation is set for Thursday, May 26th of 2022, 7:30 p.m. at Selby Stadium, and if we get rained out, well, then we'll go to the following day on Friday the 27th, 7:30 p.m. at Selby. Third option, Saturday, May 28th at 10 a.m. at the stadium, and then the last option is if we get all that rained out, well, then we go to the Expo Center on Saturday, May 28th at 7:30 p.m. And then there are several other dates listed there on senior awards, prom, May Fete, etc. So that's an attachment in your packet. Congratulations to Garfield Elementary School for receiving the Healthy Schools Oklahoma grant. That grant was funded to Garfield for their support of physical activity, nutrition, injury prevention, tobacco use prevention, and oral health education. Healthy Schools Oklahoma is the one that sponsors that, and we appreciate Ms. Rader and her campus for applying for that and all their efforts toward a healthy elementary school campus over at Garfield. Also, an attachment in your board packet is the Enid High School varsity football schedule for 21-22, and as I said earlier, our first home game. We do have a couple of scrimmages on the 20th and 27th of August, and our first varsity home game is September 3rd versus Ponca. Then you also have another attachment. It's 3 pages long. I wanted to give you a summarization of all of our state champions and all-staters from 2014 when I came till now, and it is 3 pages long. So that's a pretty impressive list, and when you look at it all inclusively, it's very impressive as to what our students have done over the last 7 years. So again, congratulations to all those students and all the coaches and sponsors that have helped them succeed. OSSBA School Board Conference, I know I keep mentioning this every board meeting, but August 26th through the 29th, and that's your opportunity to get a whole bunch of your required training hours out of the way. And please contact Carol and she can register you for that, and then also make any hotel arrangements that you might need to be made during that time period, August 26th through the 29th. And then recall that our band, I believe it is performing this year, and then our choir is performing at that event the following year. Then Carol called everyone and asked you about whether or not you would be available if we were able to pull it together for a board training here that would get 3 hours of your required training credit out of the way on July 12th, but only 3 of you were going to be available for that, so that date would not work. And then we looked at another possible date 2 weeks later on July 26th, but the OSSBA folks are not available on that date, so we'll just postpone that until the fall, and then maybe we can schedule them to come down here and do a 3-hour training. What we were looking at is we haven't done a self-evaluation in a while, so I think it's time to do that again, and then just some other roles or responsibilities. Since we have several new board members, I think it's a good time to do a refresher on that as well. So we'll postpone that until the fall. Next item, Senate Bill 229 was signed by the governor, so that goes into effect. The legislature also included additional monies for school districts, and that in turn triggered the 1017 bill from several years ago regarding kindergarten and first grade class sizes. So I thought I would ask Randy to say a word about that and how we plan to accommodate that for next school year.
Well, the law calls for any class in kindergarten and first grade that has any students over the class size of 20 to have a full-time teacher's assistant in that class. So really, to be honest with you, a lot of that determination will be made whenever we find out the final enrollment numbers in the summer and the fall. So we know we will be adding some teacher's assistants. At this point, we don't know exactly how many we will be adding. But again, that right now just does affect kindergarten and first grade.
Well, we've got some options on how we do that.
We do have some options. I mean, the State School Board Association came out and said that you could possibly split anything over 9 additional students would require another teacher's assistant. So there's the option of running a kindergarten class, for instance, up to 29 and keeping the others at 20, and then having a teacher's assistant just in that class. The State School Board Association has come out and said that that you could do a 24 in one class and 25 in another, and split a teacher's assistant between those 2 classes. But I will just tell you that's not the way the law reads. So we'll see how that's interpreted the closer we get to August. We're still waiting on some guidance from the State Department and the School Boards Association for that. But anything over 9 additional students requires an additional TA. Either way you split it.
The good news is that we got some additional funding to help with that, so we
Yeah.
certainly appreciate the legislature stepping forward and helping public schools out this session to the extent that they did, and I just wanted to let you know that we will continue working on that this summer, and a lot of it is dependent upon enrollment, and we feel like some of the enrollment decrease will come flooding back across the state this year and the nation. So I'll be surprised if we don't have to implement that in some form or fashion. So just want to let you know those two options.
Just thinking of enrollment numbers, I mean, 2021 is not a good, fair comparison because we know our numbers are down. But 1920, if you look at those numbers for kindergarten and first grade, what's a general number of how many we may need? Like, I mean, which could be different because I realize different buildings, we could
We've always,
adjust.
in probably for the last 3 years, we've always staffed at 22 in those younger grades. So if you took 22 at and we've pretty much had 22 in all of our classes, give or take a few. So like for instance at Hayes, you're talking 24 kids. So you could feasibly have, but we've also handled some of that through our equalization process, which now in kindergarten and first grade at least will not be as necessary to do that. So, I mean, because once you put a TA in that classroom, then you just have to decide how high do you want to go? Do you want to go to 29? Do you want to go to 25? I mean, we're just going to have to kind of see how some of that goes. So, or at some point, in some buildings we might, if we have enough, it might be more cost effective and better to hire another certified teacher if you can find one. So a lot of it is still just, we're going to have to play with numbers, and until we see the kids in the seats, we're still going to have to make some adjustments on that. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and then this last item is an action item, and we have completed the support ESPO contract negotiations, and Dudley is our lead negotiator for both the support group and the certified group. So we are finished now with the support group, and both sides have signed off on that, and the board's action is the final step on that. But you have an attachment in your board packet. It's a 2-page document. The highlighted parts are the verbiage that was added, so I thought I would ask Mr. Darrow to say a word about the highlighted areas right quick.
Sure, real quick, we just added a few things, specifically the RIF policy, which will go to the board in July. That's OSSBA RIF policy. So we just added some verbiage there that upon board approval, the ESPO agreement will agree to follow the RIF policy if you guys approve it in July. The second section was potentially having the ability for elementary principals to promote their secretaries from a level 2 to a level 3. And a little bit of grammar correction as well. Other than that, it was a very successful negotiation. Very glad to have it done. I think both parties worked well together.
Yeah, and on that RIF policy, that pertains to certified as well, and that is not something that we just came up with. That is just following state law. So following state law obviously is what we have to do, and it pertains to support just like it will pertain to certified, and we don't have any wiggle room on that because we have to follow the law. So having said all that, now that both sides have agreed on that, this is the last step, and we would recommend approval of the ESPO contract changes.
Do I have a motion?
Move we approve.
Motion by Tori. Second. Second by Kyle. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
All right, just a couple of other things I wanted to mention quickly. With the new ARP and ESSER funds that have come to school districts, I'm sure Dr. Robinson might say a word about that in his financial report, but we had to take a look at our return to learn plan, make some tweaks to that. It was nothing major, but just minor changes from what we did originally when COVID started, and get that posted on our website. The deadline for having to do that is tomorrow on June 22nd, so I just want to report to the board that we have revised that appropriately and got it posted last week to our website, and that will then trigger us being allowed to start using federal ESSER funds, right? All right, and then the last item you have is a one-page document that says Hope Rising, save the date for October the 7th. That is the First Lady's, Governor Stitt's wife, Sarah, is taking the lead on statewide for hope-centered communities in Oklahoma, and we look to be the first community to do that, and I think that largely relates to us having worked with Dr. Chan Hellman on social emotional learning over the last 2 years and Hope Rising and all that effort. So we are proud to be hosting here in Enid on October the 7th, the first Hope-centered community meeting in Oklahoma. I believe that's the extent of my superintendent's report, sir.
Thanks, sir. That brings us to item 4, regular business. Take item 4A, 1 through 11. Do I have a motion?
Move we approve.
Motion by Tori. Second by Colin. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Item 4B, discussion and possible action to approve the district's financial report for May. Dr. Robinson.
Everything looks really good on this financial report, just as it has all year. Collections on ad valorem, I think we received our final payment last week from the county, and county collections and local ad valorem. It's amazing how well we've done this year, considering all things within the pandemic here in Enid. Federal funds, what Dr. Floyd was alluding to, we have collected and received all of our original CARES Act funds that were released to us last March, so that's part of this report. We received those in May. We have received almost $2 million of our ESSER 2 funds, which were released to us in December through that part of government action. The Return to Learn plan, what we had to do with it and have it posted is that's going to come effective July 1 when I complete the application for that, and that's that $14 million in funds that were approved. I believe that was March or April. Can't even remember when that was exactly, but we have to have the Return to Learn plan has to contain certain points for that application, and part of those points, there were 9 CDC guidelines that they want to see and how your district is implementing those. And so that's really what I added, was the 9 points. They already went along with everything we had in there. We just didn't have those 9 points identified as the CDC has them identified. And so I'll give you an example. One of those, the first one, is mask. The state now has a state statute about schools not being able to require masks, so I just simply copied and pasted that statute into that and applied it, and that was at the recommendation of OSSBA and COSA for doing that. So that's kind of how that worked on the finance side. We are still collecting. There's a big question on some of our federal claims in June as to whether or not we missed the deadline. June 1st was the deadline to get that claim submitted. There's a $730,000 claim that's sitting out there that was submitted on June 3rd. It's been approved. If that money comes in, then we are definitely going to over-collect for the year based on what I told you guys back in January on the budget. There's some other federal programs that you never know how that's going to go through the process. So we could end up with a really healthy fund balance at the end of June, or because some of those federal claims got held up, we could end up with a little bit of a shortfall, but that means next year that money all comes in July in the new fiscal year. So while it might look bad on the books to have that shortfall, it could really be a balloon on the other end of it come July. So overall, I'm not worried. We have a healthy fund balance. We have plenty of money to pay the bills. If something was to come up, we have the funds to take care of that. So I'm just telling you guys that as kind of preemptive going into the July meeting, and it has to do with this current finance report, but everything's sitting and looking really healthy, really good. And part of this finance report I also want to talk about is summer school. I think summer school is looking good. We've kind of changed how we do the payroll process on that, and so that payroll will end on June 30th, and hopefully we'll have all those checks out to everyone by July 2nd in a pretty timely fashion. So I think we've had good participation is what I really wanted to allude with that. And I'm looking forward to kind of, from the business office side, of continuing at every campus and possibly keeping that inflation of teachers, I guess, and students at the level we're seeing it right now, because it appears to be working very well for the principals I've talked to.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, I know it's not a summer school report, but I have gotten great feedback from the principals and the kids being in their own buildings and working with, for the most part, teachers that they're very familiar with. Got to see an awesome video today of a little girl who is doing some great spelling and has grown greatly, and really because she was able to stay with the teacher that she had, it's just been really seamless, and so it's been a good investment, I believe. I wish we could find a way to feed at every campus, but that's more of a personnel thing than anything, so we'll continue to work on that. But as far as summer school and learning is going, it's going well.
Good. And so I mentioned that because that's the last big expenditure we have in this fiscal year is paying summer school next week on June 30. So with that, if there's any questions, I'll definitely take them.
If not, we recommend approval of the financial report.
Motion.
Move we approve.
Motion by Colin,
Second.
second by Tori. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Item 4C, discussion and possible action to approve Resolution 661, Independent School District Number 57 of Garfield County to join Oklahoma School Insurance Group for fiscal year 2022 liability and peril coverage. Dr. Robinson.
This is the item we tabled at our last meeting, so that way I could go back and revisit with some other insurance agents, talk with Jay Bowers some more. Jake was going to be here tonight, but he could not make it. He had a family engagement, and I told him we could definitely cover this without his presence here. Basically, just to kind of get this in a nutshell, there's really no one else out there this year that can beat the OSIG pricing for us. Jay went after some other companies that they work with at Messer Bowers. I went after some other outside agencies, and they don't even want to quote me because they're like, it's a waste of our time. We cannot even get close to this number. Messer Bowers, to help us out with this, they actually gave us a reduced fee on their side of it. It has nothing to do with the OSIG insurance coverage. It's their cost of doing business. They reduced that fee for us by an additional $17,563. So while I realize that's not a lot of savings, to me it's very meaningful that they are willing to take that step to help us out financially in that direction. And so that brings our total insurance premium, looking at it, is going to be $759,100 for this upcoming fiscal year, which is an increase of $180,783 from the previous year. So I would recommend approval of this because we do have to have insurance coverage, and this is the very best rate that I could find, and that we also had Jay with Mr. Bowers searching for us as well.
So from what we reported to the board last month, it was worth the exercise of trying to go through the process to see if we could get a better deal. And then we certainly appreciate Mr. Bowers' reduction of their commission to help us out and save $17,563. So
I probably do need to say this while we're talking about this. There was another insurance group that covered schools, and they are no longer in business come July 1. Those school districts were given a letter, I believe, 3 or 4 weeks ago that basically said, oh, before we go out of business, we need this much more money from you. And it was significantly more than we're saving with Mr. Bowers right now for most school districts our size. So to me, we should be very thankful for OSIG being in the financial condition it's in. I know this is a huge premium increase, but in the overall scheme of things, we all know what our homeowners insurance look like. We all know what the weather's like here in Oklahoma. But they do provide us very good coverage, and I think it's worth doing business with them and staying the course. So just want to give that to you guys for further information. What some other school districts are fighting through right now. I mean, there's school districts out there that are looking at $1 million premium come next year, and that's $500,000 increase on their insurance. So just be thankful we're not sitting in that spot right now.
All right, thanks, sir. Do I have a motion?
Move we approve.
Motion by Tori. Second by Colin. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Item 4D, discussion and possible action to approve the workers' compensation coverage for fiscal year 2022 with Bank First Insurance.
This is a change for the school district. We have been with OSAG for many, many years. And I had been given information previously that we could find workers' compensation insurance cheaper outside of OSAG. Whenever I went after those organizations, they couldn't beat the OSAG pricing at that time. I mean, it was kind of like on the insurance side, they were like, we don't really want to quote you guys because we can't beat that pricing. Well, this year we found somebody that could actually beat that pricing, and that's Bank First. And actually Bank First, what they do is they're kind of the headhunter of insurance companies. They go out and they find another insurance company to quote for them, and the group they're quoting us with is called Aluba. And so Aluba, I've looked them up. They're a reputable company. They do a good job. And the overall savings that we're really going for here, which is good news, is we're going to be saving about $51,000 over this year's pricing. When you take the OSAG discount that they were going to give us of about $3,669, we're still at a $48,000 savings overall in our workers' compensation insurance. The point we want to get to is where we have multiple workers' comp insurance companies bidding for our business because we've reduced accidents on the job. And until we really get to that point, we're only going to have a handful like we have now. The more we can get bidding, the lower that price on workers' comp can get. And I will say this, while on liability, we don't have a lot of control over those things that happen, we do have a lot of control over our workers' comp. We have a lot of control over what kind of shoes are we wearing to work, how are we carrying things, how are we lifting things, are we standing on top of chairs. And so this year I'm really going to make a concentrated effort with our principals and our supervisors of our different departments to really focus on employee safety, workplace safety, so we can reduce our number of work comp claims and further lower this premium going into next school year, which is the ultimate goal. So we all have a stake in saving that money, and if we can save a teacher's salary year after year, think about what we can do with those funds. So, because we know the liability is going up, so I'm kind of looking at, we're rolling this into that liability increase that we have that we really don't control. So I would like for approval of doing business with Bank First and Luba as our work comp provider going forward into FY22.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Kyle,
Second.
second by Tori. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Brings us to item 5, new business.
No, sir.
Item 6, board comments. Colonel Smith, any final words?
Last meeting.
No final words. Thank you.
We're going to miss you. Thank you for your service. We presented you with your certificate last month, but wish you the very best at your next stop, and thanks for your service. You've done a great job.
Item 7 brings us to item 7. Regular business meeting will be July 19th here in the Administrative Service Building at 6 p.m. Item 8, discussion and possible action to approve a proposed executive session to discuss the employment of those individuals' positions listed on the attached Exhibit A, purchase or appraisal of real property, or any pending litigation. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Tori. Second by Kyle.
I approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in executive session.
Should be very short tonight back there, so we should be right back.